All right, well, I'm going to jump into it here. Like I said, I don't have too much here. Well, last week we talked about doing the virtual showings, virtual tours and things, being able to put that link on Zillow, Realtor.com. Well, I've tried with both Firelens and Matrix, and both of them have roundly shot that down. They don't want any of those forward-facing links to get into our publicly viewable areas for whatever reason. Doesn't matter, the COVID or whatever the reason.
It makes no sense because they have forward-facing is pushing our photos and data into everything.
Yep.
So
but for whatever reason, they've got that put a URL in the public-facing, forward-facing stuff. Neither of them will allow that at this time. So
dumb.
What they've recommended is ShowingTime, and hopefully you can see my screen here, has a couple of videos, and I'll share the links with everybody. What they're recommending, a couple different things. One I don't so much agree with. I don't think the one video is in here. But basically you set up a static meeting room like what this is, and I've got like my normal room ID, which everybody can have. That you can have a static number, so it's like a standing number. So then you can join that. You take that description and put that into the ShowingTime. You slap that into the showing instructions, if my computer will let me get to it.
So you put the Zoom meeting in the showing instructions?
Yeah, so you basically set it up as a go and show, or set it up for a time where your client is at home. So this is like a total, like my Bloomville property right now. The tenants don't want anybody in the property. They don't want anybody showing it. They don't even want me or another agent in there. So what you do is set up a static meeting room, put that into showing instructions, which, I mean, I'm sure everybody can kind of walk through that, but if not, you just go to your listing setup, pick a property. Now let's grab this North County Road 11 one here. Go into this, and then in the showing instructions, you would add in this information then. So you'd add in I can't even see it here with the screen here, but so set up as a go and show. So you'd put in the instructions, and so you'd put in the Zoom room. Obviously this wouldn't work with the land property. So a client, not necessarily our client, but any agent could set up a showing for this property for a time that would work for the homeowner. And the thought is that if it's my listing, that the owner and myself are in this meeting room, and then, Sarah Risen and her client show up to the meeting room then, and then the homeowner or the tenant or the occupant of the property can walk through and virtually show the property. This would be, again, taking into account that the homeowner wants to do this and that they have the ability to do it, which about everybody has a smartphone. So you would take your Zoom static meeting thing, put it into the showing instructions, and be able to set it up that way. I don't know if that's the best way to go about it, but I guess with everything being what it is, it's an option. I'm going to actually present this to this Bloomville property to see if these people are willing to do that, because they've been adamant they don't want anybody into the property as of right now. I don't know when all this is going to pass, or when they're going to feel comfortable for it, or when it's going to be socially acceptable to kind of push the issue. I don't know at what point we're say, okay, we're past this, or we've they've lifted restrictions on phase 1, phase 2. I don't know what that time frame is, but at some point I feel like we'd have to be able to push that a little bit. What's that, Tom?
Question. In the marketing remarks section of a listing, can we simply dump in there the Matterport URL, and if somebody chooses to type out all those letters and plug it into their bar on their computer, and it uploads them to a Matterport tour, how is that illegal in the eyes of the MLS? It's nothing forward-facing with advertising. It's a non-branded version. It's simply letters, spaces, and numbers, which is a description.
Where do you want to put this one more time?
In the marketing remarks that go out to Zillow and Realtor and forward face and push. It's just letters and numbers that happen to be a URL that if they click on takes them to a Matterport, instead of having to go to the virtual tour button that nobody looks at. Nobody looks at that virtual tour button on Firelens. I would say you get more virtual tour looks on realtor.com because they put their nice little halo beacon up there in the corner than you do from anybody in the MLS. Nobody looks at those in the MLS.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I don't know what the numbers are on that, but I can't imagine that there's a whole lot of that. I think with Realtor and Zillow making it more prevalent to have those numbers up there, it might be more of an option now, but there might be more utilized. But as far as putting, that's kind of my point to this, the last training we had as far as making Zillow and Realtor, being able to put that URL in there. And the point wasn't even so much to put it in there, it was just that's how they're pulling the information, so that we won't encourage anybody to click it there. But if you're putting any login or URL information into the website, that is not okay. Can't have branded, can't have URL, can't have any directional phone numbers, anything like that.
Right. No, I got smacked down pretty good on all that stuff.
Yeah, but so yeah, to answer your question, no, I know they do not like any URLs to be in the comments section. Then kind of like a Craigslist used to be able to market that way with active URLs, and now they do you can break it up a little bit, and somebody can copy and paste it, or delete the space in between the .com and it'll work. But what they're encouraging, I had a kind of lengthy conversation with the Matrix board. I didn't get too much. I didn't call fire alarms on this second part here for obvious reasons. They got enough stuff on their plate. But what they're encouraging is that you take your Zoom link, pop that into the instructions. So that's the instructions that a Brittany Fote would get. She requests a showing 123 Main Street, Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Instead of getting a lockbox information confirmation, she gets this Zoom meeting ID that could be the homeowner, the tenant. I think it would probably make more sense if we as the agents could actually get ourselves to the property and maybe host that meeting, if they're just the same person coming into the property. Again, this is all predicated upon what the homeowner or the occupant wants to happen. So they're okay with another agent coming in. I would let that agent basically do the showing for them. But what that would end up looking like would be you hosting your Zoom meeting. I got my Zoom meeting running on the phone, and then me talking to Brittany and her client, basically. I don't know why I'm picking on Brittany, but I am. So again, I would encourage not to engage with another agent's clients any more than necessary. Maybe let them do the talking, and you just basically be the cameraman walking around and doing what you can. So might be, they didn't address any of this, but I think it probably makes sense to have a conversation with that other agent first, just to kind of walk them through, hey, I'll host a meeting, I'll be your cameraman, I want you to be the one talking to your client. If they're asking me questions directly, maybe you then need to talk to your client first.
That's a weird position to be in, because
yeah, absolutely.
You're having, everything that's being said with that client, which kind of puts us in a weird spot. And at the same time, if you've got a house that the tenants and or owner has said, I don't want anybody coming in the house for showings, it has to be in held status in fire alarms. If it's in held status, why would I schedule a showing?
Well, and that's where we're getting into this, where it's not your traditional, another agent's going to walk through and show it. It's we're making several accommodations. We're doing it where the homeowner's hosting the meeting with everybody, or the listing agent's going there and hosting the meeting, or then the buyer's agent's going through there. But to your first comment though, Tom, yeah, absolutely. I think it would be necessary for you to call Brittany and say, look, we're hosting this meeting. I want you, Brittany, to call your client and say, don't talk numbers with me. Don't ask me any questions that you don't want the seller to know. It really opens up the door for a lot of the agency stuff. You have to be very clear and define the lines as far as how that's going to be acceptable or what questions can be had. So if that buyer doesn't know any better and you didn't have that conversation, they have to know that anything, your fiduciary duty would be to your client, your seller. So anything they say, you would technically be obligated to pass along to the listing side of it then. Not try to overly complicate it, but it's something we definitely need to be careful. It definitely gets into a very fine line of who's representing who and who's working with who. So I think you definitely need to have a conversation with the other agent, make sure they're talking with that other person. Maybe as the meeting commences, again, reiterate to everybody that's here, I'm working for Bob and Betty, or Sam and Sally Seller, 123 Main Street. Anything you tell me, anything I hear, I'm obligated to pass along. I don't know if you need to go to that extent, but it wouldn't be hard just to throw it all out there, put it on the table so everybody's clear and set the expectations.
Kind of like cameras.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Like I said, we'll talk about that at another time. Then I'm trying to research that a little more. But yeah, Tom, you and I talked about cameras and listening devices and recordings in a home and what the rules are with that. So
I think that's going to be more prevalent than anything,
yeah.
especially now.
Well, this absolutely would be too then, because I mean, you can record this, you can do it. All I can do, like we're doing now, I hit a quick button and I'm recording the entire conversation. I would just definitely be overly clear as far as what I'm going to personally try to get it to where we can just set it up to where the buyer's agent can go and show it. But again, this Bloomville property, is to pick on that one, the people there don't want anybody in the home. So that would further complicate the situation. I now need to have a talk with the tenant, which it's not a homeowner, they don't really have any reason to try to help or sabotage it, I guess. But
Right.
if you're talking to your client, your seller, say, look, we're going to be in a meeting, basically all, the defense and prosecution are going to be in the same room here. We're all going to be talking. We're trying to help them. But again, we're not trying to give away the farm. We don't want to give away any information that you don't want them to know about, and vice versa, buyer to seller side. So basically be bringing everybody from the closing table into one meeting room and to have a showing. So definitely want to make sure you're.
What's your gumption on how many people are willing to jump through this many hoops and make this happen?
I don't know.
Is ShowingTime pushing this as this is what we're doing to help?
This is their option. Let's say I don't like it. I don't dislike it. Do I love it? Absolutely not. I think it is multiple hoops. It opens up a lot of, possibilities we normally wouldn't get involved in, certain conversations that may or may not happen outside of any of this goofiness.
Just like we were talking yesterday, I think if you're recording the showing or as soon as that Zoom meeting showing starts, you've got to get a verbal confirmation
from
everybody stating their name and that they're okay with this going forward before you even start, just so you CYA.
Yep. And like this, like I said, I'm recording this now, but I don't know if it actually notifies you guys that it's being recorded or not. I have no idea.
No, it does not.
Okay. Well, hey, you're being recorded.
Sorry. It does. And at the top left corner of the screen, it says recording.
Okay. Yeah. It does show that then. So, all right.
You said something? Oh.
So I don't know. I don't know that I love it. I don't know that it's the best solution, but it is an option. The only one property I do have that this is even relevant is that my Bloomville listing. I don't know if anybody else even has these listings, whether this is relevant or not, but this is the option they're throwing out there. This is what's there. So just to kind of finish up, you could set it up to where the homeowner or the home occupant is hosting the meeting and we're all there. It could be just us setting up a one-to-one meeting with the buyer's agent. So I'm going there to walk through the property. Or you have the buyer's agent come through and set up their own meeting. And again, if you want to take it to the next level and actually set up a static meeting room and showing instructions, or just do a one-time for every kind of showing that this would have to be set up for, you can go either route. I don't know that I'm going to personally invest a whole lot of time into setting up all my listings and stuff with this. I just don't know how widely utilized it's going to be. To Tom's point, I don't know that everybody's going to be willing to jump through 7 or 8 hoops and possibly getting an uncomfortable or potentially hazardous conversation with both buying and selling agent, both buyer and seller all in the same room. So
do you think it's proactive in this ShowingTime section here, additional instructions to because we acknowledge that a lot of people do not go to our virtual tour tab on the MLS, one, because it's about as, small as everything you could ever find. Would it be proactive to put the Matterport link here on all of our—
Funny you say that, because that was the very next thing I was going to go to is that I feel that is much more, I guess, as a first step anyways. I think this whole setup as the very first showing on the property is a lot. I don't know that a buyer, it's already difficult for a buyer to get a lot out of this with somebody walking around with the camera like this, let alone having multiple extra people in there and both, the buyer and seller representation. So I would much rather do that. Either just send them the Matterport link or exactly what you're talking about, Tom. Just put that right here, put your Matterport video right there.
Yep.
And then somebody can set up a 24-hour day, 7-day a week virtual showing through there. Again, can they get that information easier somewhere else? 100%. They can go onto one of the websites that do offer that showing link and find that. But for some reason, to your earlier point, Tom, if they can't find that or haven't gotten to it, it'd be something somebody could set up a showing and get that.
I would bet most of what's in my pocket that more public people, consumers, look at our Matterport compared to agents. I would bet if there's 10 agents and 10 customers, one agent's looked at the Matterport and 9 people have looked at, or 8 people have looked, consumers have looked at the Matterport.
So you're talking the public gets to it more than the agents do.
Absolutely.
Oh, I think you're right. I definitely think you're right with that.
Putting it here tells the agent more and instructs them a little bit more as compared to the consumer. The consumer's seen it on Zillow or on Realtor. They're going there to find it.
Mm-hmm.
How does Matterport show up on 419 Home Search Homes? Is it a separate icon in our pictures on the primary picture?
No, it should be, see if I can pull it up here. It should show up as a,
Not to take you off course.
no, you're fine. There's that little link. I lost everybody's video. I couldn't see anybody for a long time. All right, so you go to, I know Ohio Avenue has it on there, so I'm gonna pull it up.
Yep.
So in Firelands, I make sure to grab that non-branded Matterport URL.
Yep.
And I'll get this out of the way here. And then pop that into the showing button then. So the virtual tour, but Firelands has virtual tour and then they also have drone tour. I put that same URL into both. So you see right here, Tom. So you go to the listing. Once you click on it, there's a virtual tour button.
Gotcha.
So you click on that and it should pop up there. And again, we take you to the, equals 0, the branded 0. So it'd be the non-branded. So it's pulling from the
Interestingly, when you first clicked on that, it had a Firelands logo in the top left corner.
Yeah. Well, that's just probably the watermark from the Firelands picture, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, so they'll put their
they'll have their stuff on there for sure.
Put our logo on stuff. I get it.
I don't know if Realtor, I haven't checked for their button in a while. I know they made theirs a lot more prevalent as well, but Realtor should pull the same property info from the MLS. So if I go 210 Ohio Avenue, which I've got that unbranded URL set up in both spots in Firelands. We do have it set up in Matrix too, but so
it should show up here in the top left corner.
3. But this is a 3D view. Now it's a 3D view. I don't know if that's it or not.
That should be it.
No, that's their.
Is that their?
Oh yeah, it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Powered by Matterport. I think you can get away with this. I think if you log into your agent side of the property on realtor.com on the back end of it, I think you can then put your branded
Yes, I did.
Matterport video in there. There's nothing wrong with that. Actually, I'd probably encourage that so that people can find you then. It does seem, I don't know if it's my connection or if it's Realtor, but it seems kind of laggy for getting through Realtor. Yeah, you can get through to that. But if you're going to use ShowingTime, I guess to just finish up on the Matterport, I would rather use this tool to set up as a virtual showing. I feel like this would be a much more comfortable, if not user-friendly, it would be a lot better setting for the buyer to kind of do their own walkthrough for the property. I think if it had to get to the extent where you've got multiple opposing parties in the same chat room, I think it should be your second or third, showing on the property. We're really cutting to the chase at this point. We're really ready to make a deal happen. So we do the more specifics. I really want to see the furnace. I want to see the sink. I want to see whatever, and then set a meeting up like this. So
okay,
that's it. So I'll include a couple videos. You can watch. They're only a couple minutes each. Basically, just kind of watch the specifics of the couple options to set that up. If you want to utilize it, fantastic. If you don't, you don't. But I bring that to you just because that's what they're saying is the option. So.
Bill, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I had a question. It's not relevant to me specifically, but the Matterport allows so many free uploads. Did Matterport do anything with COVID to allow more showings for free or anything like that?
As far as for our uploads or anything,
Sorry, not showings, uploads, yeah.
no, nothing's changing because we have a subscription level that we subscribe to. We get 3. We pay for 3 every month as far as for an upload. So this would be if we're doing a Matterport of 123 Main Street, 456 Banana Street, and whatever. Within a month, we get 3 that don't cost us anything additional. If we do more than that, then they charge you per additional usage. But we can host up to 100, I believe, total spaces is what they call it. So 100 properties can be hosted at any given point at our subscription level. But
sure.
to answer your question, I don't think they've added or relaxed any fees or costs associated with uploading additional videos or making it cheaper or anything like that. So
Okay.
but yeah, we most of the time don't exceed that 3. If it's like towards the end of the month and we don't have to have we've already got our 3 and we only need to wait a day or 2. Usually get to that point where it's like, okay, let's just wait a day or 2 to do it. But there's been a couple times we've had, I think the one time Mike and I both had, I think Tom, you had 1 in there. The one time we had 6 or 7 in a 1 month, but it's just the cost of doing business, I guess, at that point. So
Well, and that one I just did, they finally stitched together. That was 2.
yeah, yep. So yeah, we'll probably get hit on that one then, I imagine. So all right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and end this.